You are solely responsible for this mess. I want your resignation on my desk by 5 o'clock today.
Please, give us another chance.
Stella Park worked 80-hour weeks for 8 years to transform Choi Enterprises from a mid-tier company into a luxury brand empire, only to be publicly fired in a boardroom full of executives for a fabricated expense report violation. CEO Daniel Choi chose his ambitious secretary over his most valuable executive, stripped Stella of her position, let his mistress claim credit for Stella's award-winning campaigns, and humiliated her as too emotional for leadership, unaware that this single betrayal would introduce Stella to his estranged stepson, a dangerous heir to the Korean Mafia, who would help her destroy everything Daniel built, reclaim the company she created, and send both Daniel and his secretary to prison. Welcome to Afro-Korean Dynasty Stories. Relax and enjoy this interesting story. To ensure you get first-hand notification of our latest stores, please subscribe, comment where you're watching from. This story crosses borders because betrayal speaks every language. Like and share. The story opens inside the executive boardroom of Choi Enterprises on what should be a triumphant morning. Stella has just returned from presenting a groundbreaking luxury brand campaign to international investors, a project she worked on for 3 months straight, including every weekend. CEO Daniel Choi calls an emergency board meeting, and Stella enters exhausted but proud, expecting recognition for securing a partnership that could reshape the company's future. Instead, Daniel coldly accuses her of expense fraud in front of the entire executive team. He claims her recent business trip expenses contain irregularities and unauthorized luxury purchases, charges Stella knows are false, as she meticulously documented every receipt. Before she can defend herself, Daniel's secretary Claire Yu steps forward with a presentation of her version of the campaign Stella created. The board watches as Claire presents Stella's original ideas, rebranded with minor cosmetic changes while taking full credit for the innovation. The executives congratulate Claire's fresh vision and strategic thinking. Daniel announces that due to Stella's financial misconduct and inability to handle pressure professionally, he's terminating her employment effective immediately. He adds with performative regret that Stella has been emotionally unstable lately, and this decision is for the good of the company. Stella, visibly shaking, tries to speak, but Daniel cuts her off, telling her to take responsibility for her mistakes and leave with dignity. Humiliated colleagues whisper in the hallway. Everyone knows Stella is the creative genius behind the company's success, that she's worked longer hours than anyone, that Daniel has been taking credit for her campaigns for years, but no one speaks up. Stella, fighting tears, returns to the executive suite to collect her personal belongings. That's when she finds them. Daniel and Claire, half undressed on the Italian leather couch Stella helped select when the executive suite was redesigned. The couch where she'd spent countless late nights reviewing campaigns. The suite she'd poured her creativity into designing. They freeze when they see her, but neither looks particularly ashamed, just annoyed at being caught. Daniel adjusts his shirt and tells her coldly that she's overreacting and should leave quietly before she embarrasses herself further. Claire smirks and reminds Stella that some people just can't handle corporate pressure. Stella says nothing. She walks out, takes the elevator down 43 floors, and steps into the pouring rain outside the building she helped make successful. She has no umbrella, no plan, and nowhere to go. 8 years of her life, gone in a single morning. She ends up at the bar of the luxury hotel across the street, the Meridian, where she used to meet clients for Daniel. She orders the strongest drink on the menu and sits alone, dripping rainwater onto expensive marble floors, replaying the humiliation in her mind. That's when a man in an immaculate black suit sits down beside her, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp features and an aura of controlled danger. He signals the bartender for 2 glasses of whiskey, expensive whiskey, the kind that costs more than Stella's monthly rent used to. "You're Stella Park," he says. It's not a question. She turns to look at him, too exhausted and devastated to care who he is or what he wants. "Do I know you?" "No," he says, sliding 1 glass toward her. "But I know you. I've seen you at company events. You're the brilliant one everyone whispers about. The woman who actually runs Choi Enterprises while my dear stepfather takes the credit." Stella's heart stops. "Stepfather," the man extends his hand. "Jae-min Kang, and Daniel Choi married my mother 5 years ago to gain access to my family's business connections, then abandoned her the moment the contracts were signed. She died of a broken heart within a year. I've been waiting for the right moment to destroy him." He takes a slow sip of whiskey, his dark eyes never leaving hers. "And you, Stella Park, just became exactly the weapon I need." Stella should walk away. She should refuse. She should go home, update her resume, and find a normal job at a normal company with normal people who don't propose dangerous alliances in hotel bars. But as she sits there, soaked and humiliated, thinking about Daniel's smug face and Claire's mocking smile, and 8 years of her life stolen without apology, something cold and sharp settles in her chest. "What exactly are you proposing?" she asks quietly. And Jae-min smiles, a smile that promises both salvation and damnation. "Seduce me publicly, become my girlfriend in the eyes of Seoul's elite society, make Daniel watch as his discarded employee ends up on the arm of the one man who terrifies him. In exchange, I'll give you everything you need to take back what's yours. The company, the credit, the reputation. I have resources Daniel can't imagine and connections that operate outside his corporate kingdom." He leans closer, his voice dropping to something almost intimate. "He humiliated you in front of his entire company. Let's humiliate him in front of the entire city. Then we'll destroy him together." Stella's hand trembles as she lifts her glass. She thinks about the boardroom, the couch, the 8 years of sacrifice Daniel dismissed in 10 minutes. She thinks about Claire's smirk and the colleagues who said nothing, and the campaigns she'll never receive credit for. She drains the whiskey in 1 burning swallow and meets Jaemin's dangerous gaze. "When do we start?" Jaemin signals for another round of drinks. The bartender brings them without question, without payment. Clearly he's someone who commands respect in places like this. "My mother was Min Seo Kang," he says, his voice steady but his jaw tight. "She came from old money, the kind that makes men like Daniel salivate. He pursued her for 2 years, flowers every day, love letters, grand romantic gestures. She thought he loved her." Stella listens, her wet clothes clinging uncomfortably to her skin, but she doesn't move. They married 5 years ago. Within 6 months, Daniel had secured partnerships with every major business connection my family controlled. Banking relationships, real estate deals, luxury brand distributorships, everything he needed to transform his mediocre company into what it is today. Jaemin's fingers tighten around his glass. The moment the contracts were signed, he stopped coming home, started working late, started forgetting anniversaries. My mother knew what was happening, but she loved him too much to admit it. "I'm sorry," Stella whispers. "Don't be sorry. Be angry." Jae-min turns to face her fully. "My mother died 11 months after their wedding. The doctors said it was a heart condition, but I know better. Daniel broke her heart, and she simply stopped fighting to live." He attended her funeral in an expensive black suit. played the grieving widower for exactly 3 hours, then returned to his office. I've been watching him ever since, waiting for the right moment to make him pay. Stella thinks about the executive suite, about Claire's smirk, about 8 years of stolen credit. Why me? Because you're not just any disgruntled employee, Jaemin says. You're the architect of everything Daniel claims as his own. Industry insiders know your reputation, even if your name wasn't on the presentations. And more importantly, Daniel sees you as beneath him now. Powerless, disposable. That makes you the perfect weapon. He leans back, studying her carefully. Here's what I'm offering. You become my girlfriend publicly. We attend every high society event in Seoul together. Art galleries, charity galas, business dinners, everywhere Daniel's social circle operates. We make sure every photograph, every appearance, every whispered conversation reminds him that the woman he discarded is now with the one man who terrifies him. And what do you get from this? Stella asks. The satisfaction of watching my stepfather lose his mind, Jaemin says simply, and eventually the complete destruction of everything he stole. From both of us. My family has resources Daniel can't touch. Investigators who can find things corporate auditors miss, lawyers who specialize in creative contract enforcement, security personnel who ensure our interests are protected. Stella knows what he's really saying. The Kang family doesn't operate entirely within legal boundaries. Partnering with Jaemin means stepping into a world where the rules are different, darker, more dangerous. I need to think about this, she says. No, or you don't. Jaemin's eyes meet hers with unsettling certainty. You've already decided. You just need permission to become the person who says yes. He's right. Stella knows he's right. Something fundamental broke inside her when she saw Daniel and Claire on that couch. The woman who would have walked away from this offer died in that executive suite. What happens first? She asks. Jaemin smiles and stands, extending his hand. We make our debut. Stella takes his hand and lets him pull her to her feet. Her legs feel unsteady, whether from whiskey or fear or the weight of what she's agreeing to. She's not sure. They walk through the hotel lobby together, Jaemin's hand resting lightly on the small of her back. Just before they reach the exit, he stops. There are photographers across the street, he says quietly. They follow me everywhere. When we step outside, I'm going to kiss your hand. The photographs will be online within the hour. Once this happens, there's no taking it back. Daniel will know. Everyone will know. Are you certain? Stella thinks about the boardroom, the couch, Claire's smirk. 8 years of her life dismissed in 10 minutes. I'm certain, she says. They step into the rain together, and Jaemin lifts her hand to his lips with practiced elegance, his eyes never leaving hers. Camera flashes explode across the street like lightning. The revenge has begun. Stella wakes up to 73 missed calls. Most are from unknown numbers, journalists, gossip bloggers, people she hasn't spoken to in years, suddenly interested in her life. But 15 are from Daniel. She stares at his name on her screen, feeling nothing. And the woman who would have answered immediately, worried about upsetting him, no longer exists. Her phone rings again. Daniel. She answers this time. What the hell do you think you're doing? His voice is sharp, almost panicked. Do you have any idea who that man is? What his family does? Good morning to you too, Daniel, Stella says calmly, surprised by how steady her voice sounds. Don't play games with me, Stella. Jaemin Kang is dangerous. His family is connected to things you can't even imagine. This isn't some romantic rebound. You're making yourself a target. That's very touching, Daniel. Your concern for my safety is noted. I'm serious. End this now before you get hurt. Stella almost laughs. You fired me yesterday. You humiliated me in front of the entire executive team. You let your secretary steal credit for my work. And now you're calling to give me life advice? This isn't about yesterday. This is about your future. That photograph is everywhere. Business news sites, social media, gossip columns. People are asking questions about why you left the company, about our relationship. This makes us both look bad. It makes you look bad, Stella corrects. It makes me look like someone who moved on remarkably fast. Stella, I don't work for you anymore, Daniel. What I do and who I see is none of your business. She hangs up before he can respond and blocks his number. 3 hours later, Jamin picks her up in a black car with tinted windows. He takes her to the luxury shopping district, where stores Stella has only window shopped before suddenly open their private suites just for them. Everything you own right now represents who you were, Jamin explains, as personal stylists bring out dresses, shoes, jewelry, conservative office clothes, designed to make powerful men comfortable. We're rebuilding you into someone who makes them uncomfortable. Stella tries on a red dress that costs more than 3 months of her old salary. It fits perfectly, highlighting every curve she used to hide under blazers and modest skirts. This is too much, she protests, looking at the price tag. It's an investment, Jamin says. When Daniel sees you, I need him to realize exactly what he threw away. Besides, my stepfather's money helped build the Kang fortune he married into. Consider this a small return on my mother's investment. They spend the afternoon transforming Stella's entire wardrobe. Designer dresses, luxury handbags, shoes that cost more than her monthly rent. Jamin explains their strategy while stylists work. They'll attend every major social event in Seoul over the next month. Art galleries, charity auctions, exclusive restaurant openings, anywhere Daniel's business circle gathers. The goal isn't subtle, Jamin says. We want everyone talking. Every photograph, every appearance makes Daniel look weaker. The CEO who threw away his most talented executive, who's now with someone far more powerful than him. Their first event is that evening, an art gallery opening featuring a famous contemporary artist. Jamin's assistant confirms that Daniel and Claire received invitations. When they arrive, Stella wears the red dress with heels that make her taller, more commanding. Her hair is styled in loose waves, professional yet elegant. Jamin's hand rests possessively on her waist as they enter. The room goes quiet for just a moment. People notice. People always notice Jamin Kang. They're examining a sculpture when Daniel and Claire walk in. Stella sees them first. Daniel in his expensive suit, Claire clinging to his arm in a dress, trying too hard to look sophisticated. Daniel spots them immediately. His face goes pale, then red. He stares at Stella like he's seeing a ghost, his eyes traveling from her dress to Jamin's hand on her waist to the confident way she stands beside Seoul's most dangerous heir. Stella meets his gaze and smiles, calm, unbothered, transformed. Claire notices next. For the first time since Stella has known her, Claire looks genuinely afraid. Jamin leans close to Stella's ear, his voice warm with satisfaction. Perfect. And let the show begin. The morning after the gallery opening, Jamin introduces Stella to a quiet man named Kim, who carries a leather briefcase and asks unsettling questions about Daniel's daily routines, business travel, and banking habits. Kim specializes in finding things people don't want found, Jamin explains after the investigator leaves. Financial irregularities, hidden accounts, falsified records. If Daniel's been cutting corners or hiding money, Kim will know within 2 weeks. Stella nods, still adjusting to this new world where investigators are hired as casually as consultants. Her phone buzzes, a message from Min Ji, a junior designer she mentored at Choi Enterprises. They agree to meet for coffee that afternoon at a quiet place far from the office. Min Ji arrives looking nervous, glancing around before sitting down. I shouldn't be here. If Daniel finds out I'm talking to you, he won't, Stella assures her. What's going on? Everyone knows what really happened, Minji says quietly. The expense report thing was fake. We all know you didn't do anything wrong. And that campaign Claire presented, I was in the office late one night and saw her copying files from your computer. She had your password somehow. Stella's jaw tightens. How long has this been happening? Years, probably. Do you remember the Luxe Cosmetics campaign 3 years ago? The one that won Daniel Industry recognition? Minji pulls out her phone, showing Stella old email drafts. These are your original concepts. I found them in the archived server. Daniel presented them as his own work 6 months after you created them. Over the next hour, Minji reveals a pattern Stella never wanted to see. Every major success Daniel claimed, every award-winning campaign, every innovative strategy, they all traced back to Stella's original ideas, quietly stolen and repackaged. Why are you telling me this now? Stella asks. Because you were always kind to me when everyone else treated me like I was invisible, Minji says. And because what Daniel did was wrong. If you need proof of anything, I kept backups. That evening, Stella arrives at Jaemin's penthouse with the evidence Minji provided. The apartment is sleek and modern, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Jaemin pours them both wine while Stella spreads documents across his dining table. This is worse than I thought, she says, showing him the timeline. He's been stealing my work since I started. I built his entire reputation. Jaemin studies the documents carefully, his expression darkening. This isn't just credit theft. This is systematic fraud. If he presented these campaigns to investors as his own original work, that's securities fraud. They work late into the night, organizing evidence, building a timeline, connecting dots. Around midnight, Jaemin leans back and looks at her with something other than strategic calculation. I need to be honest with you, he says. When I approached you at that hotel bar, I saw you as a convenient tool, someone angry enough to help me hurt Daniel, nothing more. Stella's stomach drops. And now? Now, I see someone who spent 8 years building an empire for a man too arrogant to recognize her value. Someone brilliant enough to create award-winning campaigns and humble enough to let someone else take credit. Someone strong enough to walk away from everything familiar and brave enough to partner with a stranger from a dangerous family. He moves closer. You're not a tool, Stella. You're extraordinary. The air between them shifts. This isn't performance for cameras. This isn't strategy. When Jaemin kisses her, Stella doesn't pull away. His hand cups her face gently, and she tastes wine and something darker. Danger, possibility, the thrill of becoming someone new. When they finally separate, Stella's heart races with fear and confusion. I don't know if I can trust this, she whispers. I don't know if I can trust you. I already made the mistake of believing someone valued me when they were just using me. I know, Jaemin says quietly, and I can't promise I won't hurt you. My world is dangerous, Stella. People around me get damaged. But what I feel right now? This isn't part of the plan. Stella looks into his eyes, searching for deception, finding only raw honesty that terrifies her more than any lie could. She kisses him again anyway, choosing danger over safety, passion over caution, transformation over staying the same. Tomorrow they'll continue destroying Daniel. Tonight, something real blooms in the space between revenge and redemption. Kim arrives at Jaemin's penthouse exactly 2 weeks later. carrying 3 thick folders and a laptop. His expression reveals nothing, but the weight of the folders suggests he found something significant. "You were right to be suspicious," Kim says, opening the first folder. "Claire Yu has been selling company secrets to 3 different competitors for the past 6 months. Product launches, marketing strategies, client lists, everything with commercial value." He spreads bank statements across the table. Stella recognizes account numbers from Choi Enterprises, but the transactions don't make sense. "She's received over $2 million in total," Kim continues. "The payments were disguised as consulting fees, routed through shell companies in Singapore and Hong Kong. Very professional setup. Someone taught her how to hide money." "Who's buying the information?" Jae-min asks. "Zenith Brands, Lux International, and Park Industries, all direct competitors. Claire's been feeding them campaign details weeks before official launches, giving them time to adjust their own strategies or undercut pricing." Stella feels sick. Those sabotaged campaigns, the mysterious competitor moves that always seemed one step ahead. It was Claire all along, bleeding the company dry while pretending to be loyal. Kim opens the second folder, and Stella's nausea intensifies. Daniel Choi has embezzled approximately $50 million from company accounts over the past 3 years, Kim says. He created false vendor invoices, inflated project budgets, and rerouted funds into personal accounts. The money was used to purchase luxury properties, jewelry, designer goods, most of which were given to Claire Yu. The evidence is overwhelming. Property deeds, purchase receipts, wire transfer records. Daniel bought Claire a penthouse apartment in Gangnam, a vacation home in Jeju, a luxury car collection, all with stolen company money, all carefully hidden in falsified financial reports. "This goes beyond affair expenses," Jae-min says quietly. "This is systematic embezzlement and fraud." Kim opens the third folder. This is where it gets interesting. Claire Yu isn't who she claims to be. He shows them a background report. Claire's resume lists prestigious universities and impressive previous positions, all fabricated. Her real name is Claire Min, and she grew up in modest circumstances with a history of short-term relationships with wealthy men. She researched Daniel for months before applying to Choi Enterprises, Kim explains. Social media, public records, business profiles. She identified his weaknesses, his ego, his need for admiration, his pattern of taking credit for others' work. The affair wasn't accidental romance, it was a calculated operation. Stella stares at Claire's real background, understanding flooding through her. She targeted him specifically. This was always about money and access. She's a professional con artist, Kim confirms. This is her 3rd time seducing a company executive to access confidential information and financial resources. The previous 2 men never pressed charges, too embarrassed to admit they'd been manipulated. After Kim leaves, Stella and Jae-min sit in silence, processing the magnitude of what they've discovered. "We could take this to the authorities right now," Jae-min says. Corporate espionage, embezzlement, fraud. Daniel and Claire would both face serious prison time. "No," Stella says firmly. "No? If we expose this now, Daniel will play victim. He'll claim he was manipulated by Claire, that he didn't know about the espionage. His lawyers will negotiate reduced charges, and he'll portray himself as another one of her victims." Stella's voice hardens. "I want him to feel completely safe first, confident, arrogant. I want him to believe he's won." Jae-min studies her carefully. "You've changed. You wanted a weapon," Stella says. "Now you have one." "When do we strike?" Stella thinks about the investor gala scheduled for next month, the event where Daniel plans to announce major company expansions, where Chairman Lee will be present, where Seoul's entire business elite will gather. At the gala, she says, in front of everyone who matters. We let him climb as high as possible, then we cut every rope holding him up. Jamin smiles. And it's the dangerous smile of someone who understands revenge. Then we wait, he says, and we watch him destroy himself. Chairman Do-hyun Lee sits in his home office on a quiet Saturday morning when a package arrives with no return address. Inside, he finds a USB drive and a single typed note. A concerned shareholder thought you should see these. The files on the drive show financial discrepancies in company accounts, nothing overtly criminal at first glance, but enough irregularities to raise questions. Vendor payments that seem inflated, project budgets that don't match final costs, small gaps that individually mean nothing, but together suggest a pattern. Do-hyun built Choi Enterprises from nothing 40 years ago. He knows every legitimate way to move money through a company, so which means he also recognizes the illegitimate ones. He makes a discreet call to the company's external auditing firm, requesting a quiet review of the past 3 years of financial records. No announcements, no alarm bells, just a thorough examination. Then he opens his calendar and notices the investor gala is 4 weeks away. Perfect timing to observe his son's leadership up close. That evening, Stella and Jamin attend the annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala, one of Seoul's most prestigious social events. Stella wears a midnight blue gown that makes her look both elegant and untouchable. Cameras flash as they enter, Jamin's hand resting protectively on her lower back. They're examining the silent auction items when Daniel's voice cuts through the ambient conversation. Quite a step up from your previous lifestyle, Stella. Daniel stands a few feet away, Claire beside him in a dress that tries too hard to compete. I suppose congratulations are in order. You found someone willing to bankroll your new image. Several nearby guests turn to watch, phones discreetly angled toward them. Stella remains calm. Hello, Daniel. Enjoying the event? I'm just surprised to see you here, Daniel says, his voice carrying across the room. These tickets cost 50,000 won each. I didn't realize unemployment paid so well. Mr. Kang invited me as his guest, Stella says simply. How convenient. Daniel's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Tell me, Jamin, what exactly is your interest in my former employee? She's talented at following directions, I'll give her that. But I wouldn't have thought she was your type. Jamin sets down his champagne glass with deliberate care. When he speaks, his voice is quiet but carries effortlessly. Your former employee, as you call her, is worth 10 of you on your best day. She's brilliant, innovative, and possesses more integrity in her smallest decision than you've shown in your entire career. Perhaps if you'd recognize that, you wouldn't be standing here trying to diminish her in public. Daniel's face flushes red. Don't presume to lecture me about my own company. Stella couldn't handle the pressure of executive work. She became emotional, unreliable. I made a difficult but necessary business decision. Is that the story you're telling yourself? Jamin's tone stays perfectly controlled, which somehow makes his words more cutting. From where I stand, you fired the architect of your success and replaced her with... He glances at Claire with barely concealed disdain. Someone considerably less qualified. How dare you? Daniel snaps. You have no idea what you're talking about. I built that company. You built nothing, Jamin interrupts smoothly. You married into money and connections, then took credit for other people's work. The entire industry knows it. They're just too polite to say it to your face. The surrounding guests have gone completely silent. At least 5 phones are openly recording now. Daniel steps forward, but Jamin doesn't move, doesn't react. He simply stands there, calm and unmovable, making Daniel look increasingly unhinged. "You're going to regret this," Daniel says, his voice shaking. "I doubt that," Jaemin replies. "Now, if you'll excuse us, Stella and I have better company to keep." He guides Stella away, leaving Daniel standing alone, visibly trembling with rage. Claire tugs at his arm, trying to get him to move, but he remains frozen. By morning, the video has spread across social media and business forums. The comments section fills with questions. Why did Daniel fire Stella? Who actually created those award-winning campaigns? What's the real story behind Choi Enterprises' success? Industry insiders begin sharing stories, carefully anonymous, about Stella's talent, her late nights, her innovative ideas that Daniel presented as his own. The narrative is shifting, and Daniel, too arrogant to notice, continues digging himself deeper. Stella hears the pounding on her apartment door at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. She's reviewing campaign portfolios Min-ji sent over, are preparing for her meeting with Chairman Lee when the banging starts. Loud, aggressive, unrelenting. "Stella, open this door!" Daniel's voice is slurred, thick with alcohol. "I know you're in there." She freezes, her phone already in her hand. Before she can decide whether to call the police or Jae-min, the pounding intensifies. "You think you can humiliate me? Make me look like a fool in front of everyone?" Daniel's voice cracks. "After everything I gave you? Every opportunity, every chance to prove yourself. I made you who you are." Stella backs away from the door. Her hands shake as she texts Jae-min. "Daniel's at my apartment. He's drunk and won't leave." The response is immediate. "Don't open the door. Help is coming." "You owe me, Stella." Daniel slams against the door hard enough that she hears the frame crack. 8 years I invested in you. 8 years of training, of chances, of putting up with your mediocre work. Sir, you need to leave." A new voice, calm and professional. Stella peers through the peephole and sees 2 men in dark suits, Jaemin's security team, though she never noticed them following her. "Get out of my way," Daniel snarls. "This is between me and her." "Sir, this is private property. If you don't leave voluntarily, we'll have to escort you out." "Do you know who I am?" "I'm the CEO of Choi Enterprises. I'll have both of you." There's a brief scuffle, cut off quickly. Through the peephole, Stella watches the security guards restrain Daniel with practiced efficiency, pressing him against the hallway wall. Then Jae-min arrives. He moves with the controlled purpose of someone who's dangerous and knows it. He doesn't rush. She doesn't raise his voice. He simply walks up to Daniel, who's now held firmly by both guards, and looks at him with eyes completely void of warmth. "If you ever come near her again," Jaemin says quietly, each word precise, "you won't just lose your company or your reputation. You'll disappear. No trial, no lawyers, no second chances. Do you understand me?" Daniel's drunken bravado crumbles. He stares into Jaemin's eyes and sees something that terrifies him, the absolute certainty that this isn't an empty threat. I didn't mean she's my employee." "She was never yours," Jaemin says. "And you're going to leave now, go home, and never speak her name again. If I hear you've tried to contact her, if you send her messages, if you so much as look in her direction at public events, I will consider it a personal insult to my family." And my family doesn't forgive insults. The security team escorts Daniel to the elevator. He doesn't resist anymore, just stumbles forward like a man who's realized he's been playing a game with stakes he never understood. Jae-min knocks softly on Stella's door. "It's me. He's gone." Stella opens the door and he sees the fear in her eyes that she's been hiding all evening. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "I didn't think he'd... This isn't your fault." Jae-min steps inside, closing the door behind him. He's losing control. That makes him dangerous, but it also makes him sloppy. People who feel cornered make mistakes. Across the city, Claire watches the video of Daniel's charity gala confrontation for the 20th time, calculating her options. She's been in enough sinking ships to recognize when it's time to abandon one. Daniel is becoming unstable, obsessed with Stella instead of protecting himself. She begins quietly transferring money from their shared accounts into ones only she controls. She updates her resume. She researches countries without extradition treaties, just in case. The following morning, Chairman Lee's assistant calls Stella with a formal invitation. Chairman Lee requests a private meeting to discuss the recent changes at Choi Enterprises and your valuable contributions to the company's success. The appointment is scheduled for Friday at his private office, not the company headquarters. When Stella tells Jae-min, he nods thoughtfully. My anonymous package worked. He's investigating Daniel, and he wants to hear your side before he makes any decisions. What do I tell him? The truth, Jae-min says. Just not all of it. Not yet. Let him discover Daniel's crimes on his own. You simply tell him about the stolen campaigns, the unjust firing, the pattern of taking credit for your work, the financial crimes. Those will come to light when we're ready. Stella looks at the calendar. 3 weeks until the investor gala. 3 weeks until Daniel's world collapses completely. Chairman Lee's private office overlooks the Han River, furnished with understated elegance that speaks of old money and earned respect. He's 73 years old with silver hair and sharp eyes that miss nothing. When Stella enters, he stands and bows slightly, a gesture of respect that surprises her. Miss Park, thank you for coming, he says, gesturing to a comfortable chair across from his desk. I appreciate your discretion in meeting here rather than at company headquarters. Of course, Chairman Lee. He pours tea for both of them, a traditional gesture that puts Stella slightly more at ease. Then he sits back and studies her with the same calculating intelligence she recognizes from Daniel, except tempered with something Daniel never possessed. Wisdom. I'm going to be direct, he says. I've been conducting a quiet investigation into company finances, and I've discovered irregularities that concern me deeply. At the same time, I've heard disturbing rumors about why you left Choi Enterprises so suddenly. I'd like to hear your version of events, if you're willing to share it. Stella takes a breath. This is the moment she and Jae-min prepared for. Tell the truth, but not all of it. Not yet. I was fired 3 weeks ago for fabricated expense report violations, she begins. Daniel accused me of fraud in front of the entire executive board. His secretary, Claire Yu, presented a marketing campaign that was actually my original work, stolen from my computer files. I was humiliated publicly, then terminated. Chairman Lee's expression doesn't change, but his fingers tighten slightly around his teacup. When I returned to collect my belongings, I discovered Daniel and Claire were having an affair. I resigned officially and left the company. These are serious accusations, Chairman Lee says carefully. Can you prove any of this? Stella opens her laptop and shows him the files Minji provided, original campaign drafts with her name and timestamps, email exchanges showing her creative process, side-by-side comparisons of her work and what Daniel presented as his own. This is the Luxe Cosmetics campaign from 3 years ago, she explains. I created the initial concept in February. Daniel presented it to the board in August, claiming he developed it himself. Here's the evidence. She shows him campaign after campaign, year after year, a pattern so clear it's impossible to deny. Chairman Lee's face grows darker with each example. My son built his reputation on your work, he says quietly. It's not a question. Yes, sir. And the embezzlement you mentioned in your initial message, do you have evidence of that as well? Stella hesitates. This is where she steps into dangerous territory. I have evidence that company funds were used for personal purchases, luxury properties, expensive gifts. The money was hidden through false vendor invoices and inflated project budgets. Yeah, I also have evidence that Claire has been selling company secrets to competitors for the past 6 months. She shows him a portion of Kim's findings, enough to prove the crimes exist, but not so much that Chairman Lee could act immediately without her. The old man sits in silence for a long moment, staring at the evidence of his son's betrayal. I built this company on integrity, he finally says. When I started Choi Enterprises 40 years ago, I had nothing but my reputation and my word. I taught Daniel that success means nothing if it's built on lies. His voice cracks slightly. I failed him as a father. This isn't your fault, Stella says gently. Perhaps not, but it's my responsibility to fix it. Chairman Lee looks at her directly. I want you to come back to Choi Enterprises, not as an employee, as CEO. I'll remove Daniel and give you full authority to restructure the company as you see fit. Stella's heart pounds. This is everything she wanted, offered freely. But she remembers Jaemin's advice. Demand more than they're willing to give. Show strength, not gratitude. I'll accept on 3 conditions, she says. First, I have complete autonomy over hiring, firing, and company direction. Second, I want equity, 20% ownership, non-negotiable. Third, I choose my own board members, and you support my decisions publicly. Chairman Lee raises an eyebrow, and for the first time, she sees something like approval in his eyes. You've learned to value yourself, he says. Good. I accept your terms. When can you start? After the investor gala, Stella says. I want Daniel to have his moment in the spotlight before everything comes crashing down. Chairman Lee understands immediately. He extends his hand. Welcome home, CEO Park. The Grand Hyatt ballroom glitters with crystal chandeliers and Seoul's most powerful business elite. Daniel stands near the stage in a custom tuxedo, Claire beside him in a white dress that hints at wedding announcements to come. He's planned this evening for months, the investor gala that will cement his position as Chairman Lee's permanent successor and announce his engagement simultaneously. He's convinced his father's quiet investigation found nothing. After all, he's been careful. The falsified records are buried deep. Claire assured him her espionage was untraceable. Everything is under control. Then Stella walks in. She wears the red dress from the shopping trip with Jaemin, but tonight it's been altered. More dramatic, more powerful. Her hair is styled in an elegant updo, and she moves through the crowd with the confidence of someone who owns the room. Jaemin walks beside her in a black suit, his hand resting possessively on her waist. The crowd parts for them. Conversations pause. Everyone notices. Daniel's smile falters when he sees them, but he recovers quickly. He's planned his announcement carefully. Nothing can ruin this night. Chairman Lee takes the stage first, welcoming guests and thanking them for their continued support of Choi Enterprises. Daniel waits in the wings, ready for his introduction as the company's future. But Chairman Lee doesn't call Daniel forward. Instead, he says, before we proceed with tonight's announcements, I've asked Jaemin Kang to share some important information that has recently come to light regarding company operations. Daniel's face goes pale. Claire grips his arm, confused. Jaemin steps onto the stage with the calm of someone completely in control. A screen descends behind him, and the first slide appears. Bank transfer records showing payments from Zenith Brands to Claire Yu's offshore accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, Jaemin begins, his voice carrying effortlessly across the silent ballroom. What you're seeing is evidence of corporate espionage. For the past 6 months, Claire Yu has been selling Choi Enterprises' confidential information to 3 competitor companies, earning over $2 million in illegal payments. The room erupts in shocked whispers. Claire's face drains of color. The next slide shows property deeds, luxury purchases, wire transfers, all connected to Daniel. CEO Daniel Choi has embezzled $50 million from company accounts over 3 years, Jamin continues. The money was used to purchase luxury properties, designer goods, and expensive gifts, most given to Miss Yu. He falsified financial records, created fake vendor invoices, and systematically stole from the company his father built. Daniel tries to move toward the stage, but Jamin's security team blocks him. The final slides show campaign documents, Stella's original work side by side with Daniel's presentations, timestamps proving he stole credit for years of her creative genius. Everything Daniel Choi claimed as his own success was built on stolen work, Jamin says. The real architect of Choi Enterprises' achievements stands in this room tonight, Stella Park, the woman he fired to protect his affair and his crimes. Chairman Lee takes the microphone, his voice heavy with disappointment. My son has betrayed everything I built this company to represent. Effective immediately, Daniel Choi is removed from all positions at Choi Enterprises. I am appointing Stella Park as CEO, with full authority and 20% equity ownership. The Kang family will be investing significantly to support this transition and ensure the company's continued success under honest leadership. Police officers enter the ballroom. Kim arranged this timing perfectly. They moved toward Daniel and Claire with arrest warrants. Daniel Choi, Claire Yu, you're under arrest for embezzlement, corporate fraud, and corporate espionage. Claire immediately turns on Daniel. I want to make a deal. He forced me to do it. He threatened my job if I didn't help him. Shut up! Daniel screams at her, his composure completely shattered. You lying? The officers separate them, reading their rights while cameras flash and phones record every moment. Daniel searches the crowd desperately and finds Stella standing beside Jamin, watching with calm, controlled satisfaction. Not gloating, not celebrating, simply witnessing justice. This is your fault, Daniel shouts at her as officers handcuff him. You ruined everything. I made you. You were nothing without me. Stella doesn't respond. She doesn't need to. The evidence speaks louder than any words could. As police escort Daniel and Claire from the ballroom, the crowd's shocked silence gives way to urgent conversations. Investors approach Chairman Lee. Business reporters frantically type updates. Industry leaders reassess everything they thought they knew about Choi Enterprises' success. Stella stands in the center of it all, transformed from discarded employee to recognized CEO, finally receiving credit for the empire she actually built. Jamin leans close to her ear. How does victory feel? Like the beginning, Stella says quietly. Not the end. The trial lasts 6 weeks. Prosecutors present overwhelming evidence, bank records, falsified documents, testimony from employees, recorded conversations. Daniel's expensive lawyers argue he was manipulated, stressed, making poor decisions under pressure. The jury doesn't buy it. Daniel Choi receives 15 years for embezzlement and corporate fraud. Claire Yu gets 10 years for corporate espionage and conspiracy, despite her attempts to blame everything on Daniel. The judge calls their actions a calculated betrayal of corporate trust and fiduciary responsibility. Stella doesn't attend the sentencing. She's too busy rebuilding the company Daniel nearly destroyed. Her first month as CEO, she restructures the entire executive team. She promotes Min Ji to creative director. She brings in ethical financial oversight. She personally calls every client Daniel alienated and rebuilds those relationships with honest conversations about what really happened. The company doesn't just survive the scandal, it thrives. Without Daniel's ego and Claire's sabotage, Choi Enterprises launches 3 successful campaigns in 4 months. Industry publications run features about Stella's innovative leadership. Investors who initially questioned a woman CEO now compete to increase their stakes in the company. 6 months after the gala, Stella visits Seoul Detention Center. The guards escort her to a private visiting room where Daniel sits behind reinforced glass, wearing a prison uniform that hangs loosely on his frame. He's lost weight. His hair is longer, unkempt. The arrogance is gone, replaced by hollow desperation. He picks up the phone. Stella does the same. "Why are you here?" His voice cracks. "To tell you something I should have said 8 years ago." Stella says calmly, "I never needed you. You needed me. Every success you claimed, every award you accepted, every moment of recognition you received, it was all built on my work, and you were too arrogant to see it. I gave you opportunities. You gave me nothing I didn't earn 10 times over." Stella's voice stays steady. "I came here to make sure you understand that your downfall wasn't my revenge. It was your own doing. You chose to steal, to lie, to betray everyone who trusted you. I simply stopped protecting you from the consequences of your choices." Daniel's hands shake. "What do you want from me? An apology?" "I don't want anything from you. I'm here to tell you I'm engaged to Jae-min, not as some revenge plot, because he's the first man who truly saw my worth and valued it. I'm also pregnant." She places her hand on her small baby bump. "I'm building a life full of success and love and integrity. Everything you threw away because you thought I was replaceable." Daniel stares at her, and for the first time, Stella sees genuine understanding in his eyes. He realizes he destroyed himself. The woman he dismissed as too emotional is thriving while he sits in prison for the next 15 years. "I hope," Stella says quietly, "that you use this time to become someone better. Not for me. I'll never think about you again. But for yourself." She hangs up the phone and walks away without looking back. 3 weeks later, the rooftop terrace of the Grand Hyatt, the same hotel where the gala happened, is transformed into an elegant engagement party. Stella wears a stunning red dress altered to accommodate her growing baby, her hand resting protectively over the small bump. Jae-min stands beside her, his arm around her waist, looking at her with unmistakable love and pride. Chairman Lee raises his glass to toast. "To Stella Park," he says, his voice carrying across the gathered guests. "The daughter I should have had. The CEO who saved my company. The woman who proved that integrity and brilliance will always triumph over deception and theft." Glasses clink. Applause fills the evening air. Later, Stella and Jae-min stand alone on the balcony, overlooking the glittering Seoul skyline. City lights stretch endlessly before them, full of possibility. "Any regrets?" Jae-min asks softly. Stella thinks about the boardroom, the humiliation, the pain that started this journey. She thinks about the woman who would have accepted crumbs and the woman she became, powerful, valued, free. "None," she says, and means it completely. She's not smiling because she destroyed her enemy. She's smiling because she finally sees her own worth, and she'll never settle for less again. Jae-min kisses her temple gently. Their baby moves beneath her hand. Below them, the city pulses with life and opportunity. Stella Park built an empire once for someone who didn't deserve it. Now she's building one for herself, and nothing will ever take that away.